The battle is lost. Winterfell has fallen. They are coming. They are coming. The battle for Winterfell was over. The war for Westeros had just begun. After losing the Long Night to the Night King and his army, the survivors made up of Northmen, Jon Snow, the Starks, Jaime, Tyrion, Daenerys, and whatever was left of her army all retreated south. Winter was truly coming, and their last hope was to hide and take cover behind the safety of the walls of King's Landing. Ravens were sent out to every inch of the realm, of the fall of Winterfell, and of the undead army that was descending from the north. Jon and his men also warned any oncomers they came across during their journey south, warning them about the horrors that were following them. Some listened, some scoffed, citing, "They don't believe in wet nurse stories to scare young'uns." A few changed their mind after seeing the column of war-torn soldiers. When they came upon the women and children who had been evacuated prior to the battle, some families were reunited, some weren't. Exhausted from a few weeks' march, when they reached King's Landing they were battered and bruised and not looking for a fight. But that would all change if Cersei Lannister, Queen Regent and ruler of the city, refused to open the gates. The battle for King's Landing, some called it. Others called it the ruin of King's Landing. Whatever you want to call it, nothing was the same after that day in the capital. Jaime Lannister, the Kingslayer, was given the task by his brother Tyrion to enter the city and negotiate with the tyrant Queen Cersei, who had been ruling since her son's demise. "You will have until the horns are blown," Tyrion said. "Then we will take the city. Plead with Cersei to bend the knee and open the gates. Daenerys will not have to take the city with fire and blood." "And why can't you lead the negotiations?" Jaime asked. "I'd like to keep my head on my shoulders." Jaime smiled. "As do I." The brothers shared one last embrace before the gates opened for the Kingslayer. Jaime walked inside, past the Golden Company and the Lannister men, as Daenerys circled on Drogon, high above the capital. Soldiers stared at him as he walked past, moving aside to let him through. There's the look. There's the look I've had all my life, Jaime thought. Kingslayer, they are thinking. What ruler had Cersei become since Jaime left for the north to help fight in the battle of Winterfell, he wondered. Cersei had refused to offer their help towards the fight against the undead army. With the Tyrells backing Daenerys and denying Cersei's claim, the city's supply line of food had been cut off, along with any other essential resources. The city had begun to starve. Jaime started seeing sullen faces stare back at him as he walked past Fleabottom. Cersei had spread that the lack of food was Daenerys' doing, a war she had started, and was here to see King's Landing into ruin, reminding the common people what a tyrant her father was and that Daenerys was no different. When Jaime finally reached the Red Keep, he was moments away from finding out what type of ruler she had become. "Jaime," Cersei called out as he entered the throne room. The great hall was empty apart from Qyburn. The air was strangely quiet. Cersei looked at him with pleading eyes. "Why did you leave and fight for them?" "Cersei," Jaime tried to speak. "See how they've turned on us. See how they're at our gates, ready to destroy us." Jaime stopped her. It was a nightmare. Jaime recalled the fight between the others and the Whites at Winterfell. Flashes of horror came to his mind. "A nightmare we cannot defeat, not even with dragons or Valyrian steel. It's over. Let them into the city. Let us defend against them together. It's the only way." Cersei laughed. "Is that so? These are the murderers who killed our father, our son." "Cersei, they are liars." Jaime raised his voice. "If you had seen the horrors I have seen." Cersei let Jaime's rage echo around the hall before saying, "First they must bend the knee." Jaime looked up. He knew this was coming. "You've seen the size of that thing that circles above us." "I heard she came here with 3. What stops us taking another?" She lost them to the Night King. A few arrows and bolts are not going to stop her. Let her try to take this city. She will not bend the knee, Cersei. I didn't come here to negotiate. I came here to open the gates, to save lives. Cersei backed away from him. She gave a small look to Qyburn. Jaime noticed it. I will not give my family's legacy so weakly to her. A legacy our father built. She turned back to Jaime. She can have the city. She can have what's left of it. What do you mean? Cersei took a step towards him, holding his hands. Do you really think I would give this up? Do you think I would easily gift this to her? Little brother, you don't know anything, do you? Confusion hit Jaime. What have you done? Cersei smiled. Wildfire. Jaime's hand let go of hers. He backed off, speechless. Maybe it's a twist of fate. Maybe it should have burned all those years ago. Qyburn has been placing caches around the city for days. Fuck these people, Jaime. Fuck this city. They don't matter. Cersei moved towards him. We matter. Let that dragon have her precious city, and let it be a pile of ash and bone. Jaime finished her sentence. Cersei slyly smiled. For the first time in a long time, Jaime didn't recognize his sister. Cersei, please. But his pleading came too late, as he began to hear something far in the distance. The horns. The horns of Winterfell. The horns of the Northmen. The horns to end Cersei's reign. The attack on King's Landing was swift and brutal. Daenerys and Drogon were fierce, first destroying the city's defences, attacking the city's walls and the scorpions that had been positioned to defend the city. Screams of soldiers that were manning the walls echoed around the city as they too went up in flames. Moving to the gates of the city, with the help of Daenerys, Drogon blasted open the Gate of the Gods, leaving a fiery hole for the Northmen and her army to break into King's Landing. A foolish tactic, Tyrion thought, but a necessary one. Jon Snow, King of the North, led the vanguard and charged through the Gate of the Gods on his horse, Shadowbane, with Ghost, his Northmen, and the Dothraki riding beside him. Any soldiers trying to put up a fight were swiftly met with the force of the Northern army. After seeing the army advance into the city, Daenerys moved to Blackwater Bay to deal with Euron's fearsome fleet. When Jon and his army arrived at Cobbler Square, there was a swarm of Lannister soldiers and common people. Jon rode out to meet a line of Lannister soldiers who were shaking in fear hearing Drogon's roar and seeing their fellow comrades being burnt alive. Sir Kevan Lannister stepped forward to meet Jon. "Drop your weapons, my lord," Jon said. Kevan looked back at his men, looked at the common people who were clinging to the buildings and structures to get a better look, thought for a moment, and unsheathed his sword, stared back at Jon Snow, and after a moment, he threw his sword to the ground. The Northmen cheered defiantly. Jon nodded. "Ring the bells," he shouted, addressing the crowd. "Tell every soldier, man and woman the city has yielded. No one else will die today. We are not here to take your city. We are here to stand together, to fight against a far greater threat." "The Dragon Queen's a threat!" Shouts from the common people broke out. "She means to burn us! She's mad like a father!" Jon Snow ignored these claims and rode down the God's Way Road to the Red Keep. "Please, Cersei," Jaime pleaded. "If there was ever some love here, you won't do this." Cersei smiled. "All this time you never realised? I only loved you because you were a reflection of myself." Jaime's heart sank. A male version of myself. What I should have been. What have you ever done with it? That power. I didn't want you. Not truly. I just wanted no one else to have you. Jaime was speechless. Broken. I'm no lion, but a sheep, he thought. Cersei stared at him. I thought you knew. Then she made the call. Qyburn. Burn them all. Qyburn nodded and began to walk to the throne room doors. In an instant, Jaime was in front of him. He took out his blade and sliced Qyburn's chest open, from shoulder to hip. Qyburn staggered to the floor, clutching his stomach. Before Jaime could turn, Cersei was on him, Screaming bloody vengeance, she threw her arms at him, clawing at his cheeks. Blood and skin began to rip at Jaime's pretty face. In an instant, Jaime's hands were around her neck, tightening. Cersei still clawed, but her movements became weaker and weaker as Jaime's hands became tighter and tighter. Jaime struggled with his golden hand, holding her in place with it and gripping tightly with the other. Jaime looked into her eyes as he gripped harder. Cersei grasped for a breath. Tighter and tighter, weaker and weaker. The struggle felt like it lasted a lifetime. Finally giving in, Cersei reached out a weak hand, holding his cheek one last time. Jaime, she quietly exhaled. Her last words. With a single tear running down his cheek, Jaime gave one last squeeze until the crack of her windpipe echoed through the hall. Her body went limp, and Jaime cradled her to the floor. Outside, Jon Snow had just reached the Red Keep. With his remaining forces, they broke the last defenders, and Jon entered the Red Keep, walking the same steps his father had walked all those years ago, when Robert's rebellion overthrew the Mad King's rule. Ned Stark's footsteps echoed in Jon's head as he walked down the same hallway. Jon finally reached the throne room, pushing the giant doors open to find Jaime clutching his sister in his arms. Blood everywhere. The Kingslayer, holding the woman he loved, his sister, his lover, his queen. Jaime heard Jon enter and gently placed his sister on the floor, and slowly began to stand, hanging his head low, looking to Cersei on the floor. Jon was speechless, praying Jaime would say something. Jaime lifted his head and looked deep into Jon's eyes. He was reminded of a faded memory, the wolf judging the lion one last time. Jaime stared and stared until finally he let out a small, weary smile and said, "The things we do for love." Jaime pulled his dagger from its sheath, brought it to his throat, and sliced.